Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. The record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
The record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orit Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record today, Monday, December 4th, 2017. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable weekend. For those of you who participated in the Intertrust marathon, or those of you who may have done a half marathon instead of the full marathon, you're now nursing those sore muscles and everything, and I trust that you enjoyed it as well. The temperatures weren't that bad. We had sunshine, but the wind at about 15 to 20 knots helped to keep things pretty cool as well. So I trust and hope that everyone who participated has recovered by now, or if not, are still recovering as well. We had a little bit of rain over the night, sometime early in the morning. It seems as if the district of Georgetown got more than the eastern districts. I'm not sure about West Bay. Haven't received a report from West Bay yet as well. So I trust that everyone had a great weekend and ready for the start of the business week today, Monday, the 4th day of December 2017. First of all, I want to thank you, our listening and our viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. Of course, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orit Connor. My two co-hosts, Dr. Steve MacPhail and Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, is back with us as well. You're welcome to join us in the conversation every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. During those periods, our phone lines are always open. There is always someone there waiting to take your calls. It is normally that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Of course, if you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at fortherecord. That is one word, fortherecord, at candw.ky. And our additional feature for communicating with us, we have a WhatsApp number where you can send a text or you can leave a voice note. That WhatsApp number is 925-3261. I will repeat, 925-3261. We will not answer the phone call, but you can send us a text or you can leave a voice note as well. Before I go to my two co-hosts, I want to wish those of you who are listening to us from overseas a happy holiday season as well. And I would really want to extend extra thanks for you, those of you who listen to us. And I've been asked to give a special shout out this morning to Ernest. We know him also as Stubby. When we were growing up, we knew him as Stubby. He's residing in Texas. I spoke to his sister this morning, Miss Phyllis Moxham, and I am told that I should convey to my two co-hosts that he listens to us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Religiously, he listens to For the Record as well. So much he gets to reminisce about, as well as to keep abreast of what's happening in the Cayman Islands as well. And those are my friends in New York as well, and they certainly know who they are. Also, who listen to us, my friend Clarence Forbes, and if he's not at home to listen, then his wife is there listening, as well, Miss Joan Forbes, and we have lots and lots of people listening overseas as well. So, without me talking anymore, I want to say good morning to my two co-hosts. First of all, I want to say good morning to Miss T. I want to welcome her back from her European jaunt. Miss T, welcome back. Good morning.
Good morning, OC. You the hardest. And there's nothing at all one can do with you. Just got to accept you and love you as is. Thanks very much for the very warm welcome. Morning to you. Good morning to Dr. Steve. And good morning to our listeners in the diaspora and right here in Cayman. One of the things that I was thinking about, other than being really grateful, truly thankful for being alive and having a fabulous family and having had a great mother and some friends and really close family also, was the fact that so much has happened this year in our political lives, our social lives. You see, so many people trying to leave countries that are broken, tragically broken. Many people not having a lot and are becoming immigrants out of fear of living in their own community with no opportunity to be truly free, for which I'm actually grateful here for us in Cayman. At some point in time, though, maybe we can do a review of what has transpired here in Cayman for the past year. Some of the things that we've achieved politically, we've achieved socially, culturally, and perhaps do an assessment to see how we would rank it in terms of overall performance.
Excellent idea.
Yeah.
Excellent idea.
And that's just me for the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Great. Dr. Macfield, how are you?
Good morning, Mr. For the Record, and good morning to Ms. Pitcairn, co-host Pitcairn, and good morning to all For the Record listeners locally and those that are listening abroad, and all the way in New York and where the other person you said, all the
Texas,
way down in Texas.
Stubby is in Texas, yes.
Texas. Good morning, Stubby, and thanks for listening to us down in Texas. They say it's always bigger in Texas, and that reminds me of a joke I heard about old Henry Bush. He was a taxi driver down at Cayman Reefs. Not Cayman Reefs, one of those hotels. And anyway, he was
Might have been Galley.
Spanish Bay Reef.
Spanish
Bay Reef, yes, Stubby. And the hotel manager told these two Texans that, Henry couldn't read and write and they should go and have some fun with him. So Henry took them out on a trip down to Georgetown. When they got to the Holiday Inn, they said, Henry, what's that building? He said, that's Holiday Inn. And he said, well, Henry, how long would it take to build that? And Henry said 2 years. And he says, oh, Henry, in Texas, we'll only take a year to build that building. And he drove down the road and he came to the La Fontaine and said, Henry, what's that building? He said, that's La Fontaine Hotel. And he said, well, how long it took to build that? So Henry going to give him less time now. He said, 1 year. He says, in Texas, we will only take 6 months to build that building. So he drove around in Georgetown and he passed the glass house. And he said, Henry, what's that building? Henry said, that's the glass house. He said, well, who lives there? He said, nobody lives there. That's where the governor's office is. So he said, well, Henry, how long did it take to build that building? Henry said, I'll tell you one damn thing. When they came by the past this morning, it wasn't there. So that's the joke I have this morning.
He was something else.
Yes.
Talk about him not having a formal education, but a smart man.
Yes, quick.
And it was amazing, those men were good with figures also. You go there to buy turtle meat and stuff like that. Those weren't the days of calculators and stuff like that, but they knew exactly, if it was 5 pounds of beef or 10 pounds of turtle meat or whatever, they knew exactly, the amount.
So they were bringing him. So Henry was driving back to West Bay now, and he passed Bort Bell Farm. Mm-hmm. So Henry said, well, see, I'll show you Bort, that old big bull. So Henry passed and said, you see that old big bull? That's bought by old big bull. He brought it from America. Oh, he say, the Texans say, oh, in Texas, that would be a weak calf. That's not a bull. That we would call that a weak calf. So Henry was driving them back across the turtle farm, and 2 men were taking a turtle. You know, they had the fins all tied up, take the turtle, about 200-pound turtle across the road. And the guy said, Henry, what's that? What's that? And Henry said, well, that's you see, you got ticks in Texas? The guy said, yeah. And he said, that's a tick. Came my tick and said, they just picked that off a guy in O.T. Town.
Gosh.
Yeah, but so this weekend I was very busy. I was doing some writing, and then I went to my cousin Evelyn's place in Northside yesterday for Thanksgiving, and had a large crowd, a lot of people from Mirror Street, some old people. I backed up with some of the Thompson people. You know, it was the Kingsley's children, Kelly Thompson and his wife, and some of those people. It was very nostalgic. We went back in time. I told a lot of Cayman stories to them.
Can imagine they were cracking up.
They were cracking up, and I had a lot of. It was the first time for so long that I actually broke down and ate a lot of old Caymanian food, and we were talking about about lobster. You know, the lobster season, and then I said, well, the thing that moves me is the change in our environment, in our language. They say the season for lobster. Well, when I was growing up, the season for lobster was black pepper and onions and stuff and things like that. I didn't know that you had seasons for lobsters, because lobsters had no season, no May or June or July or August or December, and lobsters were huge, big lobsters, 2.5 tails. One lobster could feed a family of 8 or 10. And I would go out selling lobsters. I remember going up to the Rolston's place. They used to own Sea Inn and Turtle Inn, Seaview Hotel and up in Turtle Inn. 4 lobsters for $1. 4 lobsters for $1. And they say, little boy, we don't want any lobsters, but if your grandfather got in the goggle eyes or in the jacks, we can get them. We couldn't sell lobsters. And now lobsters are become now a commodity that you cannot
delicacy
that you cannot afford to buy.
Yep, we have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Rista. First of all, wish you the best. Glad to be back home, I know. Mr. Markfield, how are you this morning, sir?
He's just setting up his...
Okay.
Go right ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. We'll see. How are you?
I'm fine. Go right ahead.
Yeah. I want, if you know, the trick, you can give me an answer before the show is over today about the situation with the garbage. It is terrible in down in Low Valley area. A couple of days ago, I drove around the wealthy areas, South Town and different areas down West Bay Road, and I don't see any garbage. But I noticed that they ain't picking up too much up this way. I think it's like 2 weeks they haven't been here, and I mean, the garbage is up the garbage ponds and it's piling up, and I can't get no answers. I know the minister is doing all he can, because I heard him speaking about it, and he was very upset about it, and I know he's doing his best to get it going, and I figure he know now that they haven't picked up in this area for quite a while, and I just want to know if you could tell me anything about it before the show is
And
over.
your area is where? Where's your area, caller?
Right next to you.
Oh, okay.
In Lower Valley.
Okay. We'll check that out, and we will have a response for you. Thank you very much, caller. Ms. Susan, do we have one more caller? No callers? We're going to take a commercial break now. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after this short break. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have 2 callers. Before I go to those 2 callers, I just want to say to the first caller, when we get the opportunity, and if you have online access to Cayman News Service, if you go in and if you, in their search engine, Google garbage trucks, there is one article written on the 5th of March 2015. That article is entitled $1 Million Fleet of Garbage Trucks to Hit the Road. And then there's another article on the 24th of November of this year entitled Garbage Collection Hit by Truck Troubles. We will peruse both of those articles, extract the salient points from it, and explain to you based on those articles, what has happened. So we see in 2015, $1 million invested in garbage trucks, and we see in 2017, garbage collection hit by truck trouble. So we will convey those to you. But we have two callers, and we want to accommodate those two callers before we go to our 8 o'clock news. So let's take the first caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, Mr. O.C. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, Miss T. How are you doing?
Good morning. Doing well, thank you.
How are the kids?
They're good, thank you very much.
The children. And how is Mr. John?
He's good. He's good. Thanks.
That's right. Good morning, Mr. Maxfield.
Good morning, ma'am.
Mr. Know-It-All.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you saying something about Mr. Bush, and I did hear something about him, too. I heard that tourists came, and he was going around with them. He was driving his taxi, as they were passengers, and they saw a breadfruit tree with breadfruits on it. So they asked him, "No, Mr. Bush, what is that? What you call that thing?" He said, "We call it breadfruit." And they said to him, "How do you spell it?" He said, "We don't spell it, we eat it."
Yeah, it was true. It was going up in the valley, and he had this group of women tourists, and they saw this beautiful fruit on the tree, green fruit, and they didn't know, they have never seen breadfruit before. So they says, Henry, what is those? What kind of fruit are those? And Henry said, "They're breadfruit, Mom." And he says, well, Henry, how do you spell them? He said, "We don't spell them damn thing, Mom, we eat them." So
That's right.
he was
That's
a great.
how you managed to leave out that one.
Yeah, he was a great thinker. He was a great thinker, and
Okay.
at one time too.
Go ahead, caller.
Go ahead.
You have a good day, all of you.
Okay. Thank you very much, caller. Let's see if we can grab the other caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C. This is Georgia DeBank.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning.
And Miss Teresa, I miss you so much.
Good. Good
Glad
morning, Miss
that you're
Georgia.
back and all your family members are well.
Thanks very
And
much.
Dr. Steve Maxfield, I call you the walking encyclopedia. So I'm always glad to hear you.
Thank
too.
you.
And I hope you and your family
Yeah, we are
are
well.
also well. I just want to say a very few words. You know I'm not a long-winded person. I think it would be a good idea if I'm not trying to run your show for you, but you could ask this question: what each person would like or enjoy having for Christmas, and
Okay.
I am going to give you my Christmas wish. I usually have the same wish for a long time. Well, some parts of the wish I've only had lately, thank God. I always ask God to let all my family members, those who are at home and those who are abroad, to be well, and that they will enjoy and that they will truly remember what Christmas is truly all about. And the next wish that I have, that something will be done about those people who are homeless. They are just like we are. They're human beings created in the image of God, and He loves every one of them. And nobody coming up with these excuses. Oh, most of them are lazy, or they're on drugs, or blue-black. A lot of them are mentally ill too. So I trust that something will be done about those homeless people, that they will have some semblance of a little bit of Christmas, because I'm positive, almost positive, most of them probably went to church Sunday school when they were young, and they know the true meaning of Christmas. So, and I pray for all those 19 in the LA and all their family members, that they will let God in heaven give them, they will ask God in heaven for wisdom and knowledge with which to take care of all, not some, all the people on our free island. That is my Christmas wish. And for the three of you in there, I wish you and your family members a most happy, blessed, and safe Christmas. God bless.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Georgette, and we wish all the best for you and your family during the holiday season as well. Miss Georgette continues to talk about this and homelessness, and sometimes by our silence, our collective silence, you wonder whether or not we're condoning it to a certain extent, whether or not we're turning a blind eye to it, whether or not we're denying that it exists. Last week, I had the opportunity to speak to a very prominent businessman whose company owns several properties on the waterfront. And he mentioned it to me, and he could enumerate at least 4 or 5 individuals that he is aware of who are sleeping on benches and various places on the waterfront because he has encountered them. So it is happening. It is for real. I'm not sure what the authorities are doing about it. We keep hearing the fact that some of them don't want to be helped. That's what they want to do. Well, if that's what they want to do and you can't forcibly put them in an institution or in some sort of a shelter, then I'm not sure what organizations like Meals on Wheels and others are doing for them in terms of going out, giving them meals on a daily basis to ensure that they're fed properly, because we also hear about people, ravaging through garbage bins and stuff like that to get food as well. But it is real. The numbers may not be as astronomical as in other countries, but it is real. And then there are some who simply don't want to talk about it, who don't want to admit the fact that they're encountering problems, as far financial problems, and as a result of that, difficulty in acquiring housing.
Well, that shouldn't be a surprise to us, because we have now reached a point where human life doesn't mean anything anymore, much less human suffering. And so the bottom line now is what is the black in the bank book, and how much stocks you have on the stuff, and how many millions. Before it was hundreds of dollars you would have to have, in thousands. Now it's millions, and now it's billions of dollars now. So it doesn't surprise me that we find ourselves in this position, because look what has happened. We were talking about that just yesterday at Thanksgiving. I remember when a man got his call, when a boy got his call, 16 years old, got his call. He got his call to go with National Buck or Southwell, and he already had his passport at 15 years old. His call was to go to work on the largest ships that float on the ocean, and to see all of those countries around the world, and go into all those ports around the world. That's what it's called. The call now is when they call you up from the cells under the court's office to answer to your charge and stuff. So the whole emphasis about our people have shifted, and people don't care about people sleeping on in the open and on benches and stuff. On the other side of the coin, there are people say, well, I'm glad it's not me. I'm glad it's not me. And so the problem now is that we have capitulated and we have lost all humanity and we have lost all sense of pride for ourselves and our neighbors. And that is where we are headed to now. We are headed to any other old city like Chicago and New York and Detroit and all of those places. That's where we're going.
Folks, I want to remind you that you're listening to For the Record. I'm your host, Stuart Connor. My two co-hosts in the studio with me, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, Dr. Steve Macfield. We're going to our 8 o'clock news. Don't change that dial. Listen to the very important news, and then For the Record will be back immediately after the news. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller on hold, so we're going straight to that caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator. And I want to commend you and your team for consistently raising inconvenient truth that at some time or other we need to take a national approach to addressing. I'm specifically referring this morning to a matter which I heard earlier, the issue of homelessness.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, it is time that we pay attention to this while the numbers are still manageable. It is a growing phenomenon, which leads me to make the observation. Years ago, I asked the question, and I still pose this question because it has not been convincingly answered. For whom are we developing? Mm-hmm. For whom are we developing? And I want to draw reference to the last month's National Geographic magazine, where the lead article was captioned "The Search for Happiness," and they asked the question: they posed the solution. What we can learn from Costa Rica, Denmark, and Singapore, the most joyful places on the planet. Mr. Moderator and Dr. McFeel and Ms. Pitcairn, we continuously boast about our economic position in the world, and yet hordes of people are dropping through the cracks. Tell me, where is it going to end? Have a good day.
Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that.
Can I segue into
Sure,
the
go right ahead, Ms. T.
So it seems as though Mr. Borden must have read my mind. There was some kind of synergy between us because during the break I said to OC, can I just speak to a few comments that I would like to raise, and they actually surround some of the issues that Mr. Borden just raised. So the questions that I listed are as follows. What is happening to explain why the figures are rising, even though we boast about economic buoyancy and economic success? Do we want to wait until it reaches a crisis level? And what would we consider to be a crisis level? And is the pauperization of the Caymanian people going to be something that is acceptable as we are anesthetized to the whole process? People give up on life because they can't make ends meet. Sometimes they're pressurized in such a way, especially the kind of economic responsibilities we tend to foist on different genders. We don't even know how women respond to the pressure compared to how men respond to the pressure. The people that we're seeing that are living in places that are not meant for human habitation, are they likely to be more men or more women? When someone said that, I think OC, you were saying that it is said that they can't do anything about convincing them to live in structured environments. If that is the case, then two things. No one voluntarily go and live in subhuman conditions. That's one. And if you find persons doing that, you must realize that there must be some mental element that is involved as well. And we have to review how we treat people that have failed in our society, that have made mistakes in our society, because they too are falling under the cracks, beneath the cracks, and are adding to this population that we are now seeing living in what I call subhuman habitation. So those are some of the, as you know, as Miss Georgia was speaking, those were some of the comments that I was, that I was making to share with us as a community. Because to be honest, we've grown into a community that simply don't care. How do we say that we care when we see it? I know I see it when I go into the supermarkets, and I know that when there's certain folks that I'm accustomed to seeing around the supermarkets now, and instead of giving them money, I'll say, if you want something to eat, I'll go inside with you to go and get you something to eat, but I'm not going to give you any money. I don't have that much money in any event. But what I do have, I am willing to share. Something must be said about UK politicians. OC, they earn £74,000 per annum. How much do we pay our politicians per year
for part-time jobs?
I know I get, the other day Dr. Frank said that I had an outburst, and I hope it wasn't necessarily seen as something that was negative, but you can't say that you care when you see how we're being pauperized. I don't understand it, OC.
Okay, well said. Since Mr. Roy Borden called in, I wanted to raise this topic, and it's a good opportunity to do so. Jamaica's Chief Justice Zelia Makala retires next year. In Jamaica, the argument about replacing her isn't whether or not we will be replacing her with another Jamaican or replacing her with a foreigner. The argument there is whether or not the Constitution should be changed so that it is not the Prime Minister who is able to appoint the Chief Justice, but the legal fraternity should have some say in it, whether or not it is some association or something like that. Here in the Cayman Islands, we know that Mr. Roy Borden will be retiring next year, and I am made to understand, I have no facts to support it, but I am made to understand that such similar argument isn't taking place in terms of which Caymanian we're going to replace him with, but possibly which foreigner he's going to be replaced with. Again, it goes to show you, if that is the case, I should say, let me make it clear. If that is the case, then it goes to show you the way we think and we act in the Cayman Islands and the way people in other jurisdictions think and act, because the whole element of replacing one of their nationals with a non-national is a non-issue.
Yes, and I would take it further than that, OC. We already, and this is not a phenomenon. We already have it in our Constitution. Section 16 of our Constitution gives us the right to pass a law to say that certain people, all the people who work in the public service should be Caymanian. And it's not discriminatory against other people who are not Caymanians. Bermuda did not have that in their constitution. And last month it was, OC?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They quickly went to their parliament or to their legislature, and they changed that and adopted what we have.
Yes. What they did there was they made sure that the legislation can supersede their Human Rights Act.
Yes, that's what they did. And here we are. I was listening to another station this morning as I was coming in, and the argument was, and someone called in and said they were happy with Mr. Chris Sanders, the MLA for Bordentown South, Bordentown West, because he had brought a motion to say that they should replace all of those people, security guards in the administration building, with retired Caymanian police, with Caymanian policemen. And I was wondering, well, why does he have to bring a motion? It's in the Constitution that says we can do that. All we have to do is amend put a simple amendment in some law that says that. And it seems to me that these MLAs are getting enormous amount of money, as my colleague said, and my co-host said just a minute, £74,000 a month in England, and then they have to pay taxes on that as well.
Actually, 74,962 to be exact.
Yeah. And then it's almost the same thing in America with the senators and the congressmen.
174,000.
174,000, and they have to pay taxes on that too. And those people are making almost a similar amounts of money here for a part-time job, because Parliament, the legislature has now been in recess now since November, and they're not come back until February, so they're not working there, and they're getting the salary. Why can't they just bring a law? If they're worried about it not passing in the legislature, they should bring the law, draft the law, take it around to their various electoral districts, and force the government with support from their people to pass a law that say that the people who work there have to be Caymanians.
Okay, we're going to throw it back to Ms. Susan now for a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, my two co-hosts, Ms. Theresa Pitcairn, Dr. Steve Macfield. We promised our first caller this morning who spoke about, had a question about the garbage situation, that we would do some research, seek some answers. On the 5th of March, 2015, an article headlined, $1 million fleet of garbage trucks to hit the road. And the Cayman News Service article says rubbish collection across Grand Cayman should improve significantly from Friday, when the fleet of 5 new garbage trucks takes to the road. Government has spent over $1 million on 3 MAC commercial waste collection and 2 Freightliner residential garbage trucks. And they were handed over to the Department of Environmental Health. That was in 2015. And since then, that was at a cost, those 5 vehicles was at a cost of $1,096,000 in change for those. You now have an article, Ms. T, in 2017.
Actually, it was just the 24th of last month.
Yes.
Right. And it says that government invested more than $2 million in 2015 on 10 new garbage trucks for both commercial and residential
So that
collection.
would have been 5 in May
2015.
and then the additional 5.
Okay. All right.
So
but it
total of
says
10.
that it's and again, this is another CNS summary.
Yes.
It says that the delays for the garbage collection in the Georgetown area, which would have been the middle of November, was due to, and they have in quotation marks, unavailability of some of the garbage collection trucks, according to the DOE. And officials did not explain what caused this, but said that the department is going to embark on, and again, in quotation mark, special operations to clear the garbage from all the areas that have not been serviced since the start of this week. So this is in the beginning, central end of November.
Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, you have the Christmas pickup where you're allowed to set aside
all the old
furniture,
rubbish, old
and
furniture
stuff like that.
outside.
So
I see
that's
it
an additional
heaped up.
Cost.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and additional resources that they will need for that as well.
But OC, stick a pin.
Sure.
We're employing folks over a short period of time, and again, when I was here the last time, I said, okay, 2 weeks is great, but what about the other 50 weeks of the year?
Mm-hmm.
But we're paying X amount for that service for Christmas, and we have since spent $2 million to purchase trucks and have those people service, to provide the service that we need. I would like to understand how we rationalize the spending. That's me personally, because some of it is my taxpayer money that I'm paying, and people have to ask the question. And I again, when we tend to raise these things, people take it personal. It's not personal. It's the right that we as taxpayers have to ask legitimate questions as to how our money is being spent.
Okay. And you're saying then that those persons who have been employed for the short term for the Christmas season, those are additional resources that they should direct towards helping with the garbage pickup. I am told that if you, in the past, I'm not sure if it's currently what is happening, but in the past, if you had a truck with a trailer, in addition to your individual bodily work, that you could make something
Extra
like
money.
$1,000
A day.
a week or something like that.
Yeah, something a week or a day.
I think it's a week for that truck and that trailer. I don't know if that continues to obtain in this current Christmas season, but if it is, then we have 4 callers. So let's see if we can grab those callers. We're going to ask each caller to be as brief as possible, and you may say, well, you want us to be brief? You need to practice it on the other end of the mic as well, and we will try to do that also. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
Yes, you all need to practice that time.
See, I said that before you said it.
Yeah, good morning. It is a shame to know that all this money is being allocated for these dump trucks. And Cayman is raging with garbage throughout the whole island. And it seems like nobody is taking it serious. And when I say serious, to know that kind of money, so-called put into garbage trucks and all the other pieces that they purchase, and yet we are overloaded with garbage. I just want to say this morning that I wonder, who are we building for? And why are we building so much? But yet we can't keep the garbage under control. I'm so upset right now that I can't say too much more. I don't want to say the wrong word. Guys, thanks a million.
Thank you very much, caller. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning again, Mr. O.C.
Good morning again, ma'am.
You know, I rarely call the second time. I'm calling to congratulate Mr. Roy Borden, the president of our college, University of the Road, for speaking about the homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
If I would near him this morning, I would have given him a big hug. May God bless him and his family, because so many people seem to have no common sense. Who would want to go out on the street and live if something isn't wrong with them in some way? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Georgette. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Am I on now?
Yes, you are, sir.
Thank you. I hope you'll give me a little bit of latitude, because I do need to say a few
We'll
words.
try. We'll try. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. And good morning to your panel as well.
Good
OC.
morning. Good morning, Mr. Tommy.
This is Tommy Borden. Not ashamed to acknowledge who I am.
I know who you are, Tommy.
Nothing to be ashamed about.
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know that I've been driving a church bus for nearly 60 years now. I have never had a problem as great as yesterday because of this marathon that they had. The whole Georgetown was blocked. While I know there's only 2 churches on the waterfront, of course, I know a lot of people care nothing for the churches anymore. At the same time, I am not against the marathon, and I'm sure they could find some roads other than everyone in Georgetown to run on as well. But the fact is this, there's no need to block all these roads when this is going on. One area of South Church Street was not blocked. They had people guiding the traffic, and it's usually 1 or 2 people behind each other, one behind the other, on one lane, close to the road, the edge of the road. There's no reason why the road need to be blocked, because they have people at a lot of the junctions anyway to assist. Even had police at some of them yesterday. Mm-hmm. I begged the police to let me through, so I didn't have to go around town. It brought me extra late for church, and I think this is something that has to stop. we've been tolerating a lot of these blockages now for years, and every year or every week it seems to be getting worse. Any function they want to do in Georgetown, they block roads that makes it difficult for us to get to the church building. And this is, as I told the police, this is not only human rights for those that are running. The other people have rights as well. And I'm not stopping until I get that stopped, whether I got to go to the governor to get it done or whoever, because it's totally wrong. They have no respect for the churches in the fact, in the sense that they do not care how people are unable to get to the church buildings, and this must stop. I don't know the reason for doing this. I don't know if they can't find roads anywhere else to use, but every function there that happens in town, they're blocking the road by the Church of God, so it makes it very difficult for people to get access to the church. And this is very unfair and against human rights as well.
Mr. Thomas, question. So I take it that the organizers or the police who decide to block the roads off, that they have not consulted with some of the entities in that area that will be directly affected by it, especially a church on a Sunday. They have not consulted with you in any way to get any suggestions?
Not with us.
Okay.
And it's really getting out of hand now. I can say yesterday was the worst it has ever been. I had to turn around when I got into town and go back up to Bobby Thompsonville or whatever it is, Anna Holder, go around, got by the glass house or admin building, had to divert again to go around, walk on the road, and get to through the back way to get to the church.
And come through Moringa Town.
And it brought me very late getting people to church. That has to stop. I don't know who makes these plans, but I guarantee I'm not stopping till that stops. Because it's really unbelievable, the disruption that it makes for us, and no one seems to care one iota. So I just wanted to let the public know that I am not against the marathon or whatever, but although I believe they could find some other roads instead of blocking the main road that we need to get to certain areas, and they don't need to block them anyway. If they just watch the traffic, how people directing the traffic, people are reasonable and can slow down when they get in those areas, but don't block the whole town off that you got to go round and round in circles to get to one location that's been there for over 100 years.
Yep. Well, you have a whole year to work on it, sir. Yes. Start to work early. I'm sure that you will get the ear of those persons who are organizing for it, because what is happening is that every year it's getting bigger and bigger. So you really need to nip it in the bud so that they're able to cooperate with those residents who are affected by it, Mr. Tommy.
Well, can't they go around one road more than one time if they're running short on roads?
And they do that to a certain extent too.
Well, I know they got to change their plan for what they've been doing in Georgetown. Because I'm not stopping till it is stopped.
Yep.
Because it's unreasonable and unnecessary for that to be done, and to make it so uncomfortable for people that are trying to get to church on a Sunday morning.
Yes, sir.
They have no respect for Sundays anymore anyway. I must say, to a large extent, to a very large extent, they use that for all of their special whatever functions instead of going to church. But that's their choice. I can't stop them from doing that, but I can certainly object, and I won't stop till I get that stopped. Blocking main roads for people that cannot get to the church without going around and circle around town to get to service.
Yep. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Tommy. We have to take a commercial break now. We have one more caller left on line. We're going to ask that caller to hold on, take a quick commercial break, and we will be back to you. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We still have two callers now rather than one. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
This is Pastor Elson.
Morning, Pastor.
First of all, just want to concur with Brother Tommy along the lines of how our culture is being changed. It affects how, I guess, a lot of things that we are having to deal with today. He's talking about dealing with the road closures affecting the church. But I think in a very general sense, we need to take a good look and realize how something called cultural imperialism is actually happening to us here in Cayman. Mm-hmm. And we need to decide ourselves as Caymanians what we're going to do about it. That was not my primary reason for calling, though. I just wanted to identify that that is a very real thing. People who come from outside who impose their culture, whether they Badamanu to us or whether they do other things without taking into consideration some of those values that we have as Caymanians. But my primary reason for calling has to do with the issue that has to do with the social changes, talking about homelessness and so forth. I think one of the realities is that sometimes we have not stopped to recognize the fact that the development that we have in Cayman, in terms of the economic development and all the things that have happened, has been a choice that we have made. Mm-hmm. We want Cayman to have come out of the doldrums. We wanted Cayman to come out of the dark ages. We wanted us to have less mosquitoes. We wanted to have more money. We wanted to have better, quote, better way of life. But we haven't thought of the consequences, the social consequences. So I have a couple of questions. My question is where are the moral components to decisions that are being made in a legislative assembly? When we're making budget, is there a clear stated moral outcome attached to public decisions? What are the social and moral implications associated with these decisions? I think unless they're actually stated, unless we say, okay, there are very clear social implications based along this decision. If we're going to raise, for example, a tax, how is that tax going to affect the persons at the lower end of the economic spectrum? Because that's a moral decision. We are making a decision. We call it an economic decision. We call it anything else. But there are moral implications. And I think it is a clear duty. There's a moral imperative attached to public decisions. And those have to be clearly stated. And we need to recognize that when we make those decisions, unless we want to see an escalation of such things as homelessness, whether we like the idea of socialize this or talking about socialism, whatever, there's a social responsibility that our government has, as well as the rest of us. But it's not just the rest of us, it's everybody together in Cayman recognizing that we have a growing problem, and it's not going to go away unless we address it from the top down. Those are just some thoughts, the questions. Where are the social and moral implications, and where are the moral components associated with the decisions that we make at the government level? That's what I'm leaving with today. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that, Pastor Ebanks. Yes, we make decisions, decide which direction that we're going to go, and then when it hits the little man on the street, then we decide. We try to figure out what do we do about him, because in the initial analysis and in the initial decision, those impacts on the persons lower down the totem pole are not taken into consideration.
Well, there are no moral
collateral damage.
There are no moral considerations, because some of them, I have heard them said personally that this is the price we have to pay for development. Development. That's how they excuse it.
Mm-hmm. We have 3 callers. And one voice call as well. Voice note. Sorry, shouldn't say voice call. Voice note. You're going to do the note first, Miss Susan? So we're going to do the voice note first.
Can the panel find out when will the garbage be picked up in the Lower Valley area? I didn't hear that. I heard about the trucks, the money that was purchased, but I want to find out when will the garbage be picked up.
Okay, that caller is wanting to know when the garbage be picked up, and he pointed out in the Lower Valley area, and he pointed out that he lives near to where I live. Last week, Thursday or Friday, I heard a garbage truck on that road. So there is at least, once a week pickup still in that area. That is as much as I can say. Hopefully someone from environmental health is listening. And if you are listening in environmental health, or if you know about it, then send us a WhatsApp message. You don't necessarily need to leave a voice note. If you don't want your voice to be replayed, you can send us a text on 925-3261. Someone from Environmental Health, from the ministry or something, tell us what's happening with the garbage pickup situation. Next caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
NOC.
Morning. How are you?
And good morning to your panel,
Good morning.
Teresa and Dr. Steve McFeel. I'm Rupert E. Banks, and I want to support what Brother Tommy and Brother Allison had to say. And I would like to add one more. Where is our God? I mean, every major sport seems to be left for Sunday. Don't we realize that God is still God, and all the money in the world won't help us if He turns His back on us? And it is time now that we stop and think and have some respect for those who want to go to church, because we claim to be a Christian nation, but yet it seems that everywhere we can turn to violate the principles that made us what we are and think that money is going to answer our problems. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and may you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Roops, for that. Yeah, we claim that we are God-fearing country, but it seems as if our fears are not as great now as they were in years gone by as well. We have 3 more callers, and we're asking everyone to be as brief. So far, everyone has been really brief and to the point, and we're going to ask you to continue that trend for us, please. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, everybody. Kenneth Bryan here.
Good morning, Mr. Bryan.
Good morning.
I just want to make a clarity on the matter and then wish my mother happy birthday. So, OC, you were asking about the truckers. You know that in a few previous Christmas cleanups, that persons with trucks and trailers would be able to get opportunity and make a few dollars themselves. Unfortunately, they're not doing that this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not going to be doing that this year because I inquired on behalf of some of my constituents. Because if 3 various different departments are involved, they're going to be using government vehicles, DEH, Public Works, and NRA. So that provision is not available unless for some reason that they don't have enough trucks, but I don't think that will happen. Mm-hmm. And that being said, I want to wish my mother a happy birthday. I love you so much, Mama. Enjoy your beautiful day.
Okay, and we say here from For the Record as well, Ms. Donna, have a very happy birthday. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. O.C. and your guest there.
Good morning, ma'am.
I want to call about Mr. Thomas Borden and Mr. Rupert and Mr. Allison. I want to agree with them 100% about the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that they will stand up, and I hope more ministers and the whole association will come out, because Cayman they're being destroyed with their culture, what they stand for. For instance, the one that they had down in West Bay in Barcus, for Barmenu, where they had that big thing on Sunday morning, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
We as West Bears are standing up that that's not going to happen down there again. So we want to make them clear that they don't need to come back to Barcus so that again another time, because it's not happening. So I want Mr. Tom and them to stand up, because our culture is being destroyed by everybody else deciding what Cayman stand for. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. Yeah, and maybe the Cayman Islands can be spared. Many issues if everyone takes a stand, and not necessarily collectively, but when it affects your particular area, take a stand. And you will find sometimes that those persons who are not necessarily affected by it will support you, stand behind you, and that may be the quiet revolution that we need here in the Cayman Islands to restore some order in certain areas. 2 more callers, and we're going to try to see if we can take both callers before our 9 o'clock break. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello?
Good morning. Go right ahead.
Oh, thank you. This is Billy Simamba. I just want to make a little comment. I hope that you haven't covered it already, or not that I hope.
Okay.
It was the one that arose late last week in relation to the power of the DPP to prosecute.
Oh, yes.
Yes. You see, there is a decision there that I think your panelists will be aware of from 2010 by the Chief Justice, where basically the Chief Justice said that the power of the DPP to make a decision to prosecute or not to prosecute is not subject to judicial review. Now, that is in accordance with a lot of decisions from the UK and so on and so forth. But what I think is that there should still be, whereas I agree with that position, because it's very difficult to review decisions of the DPP, there must be a way in which the DPP policy-wise is supervised. And I think the best way to do that is to get the Judicial and Legal Services Commission, which at the moment merely has disciplinary power over it. But it should have, I think, some policy role to play, so that the DPP at the end of the year, when she does her annual report, which she does do, but that should include some policies as to how she has been exercising this prosecutorial discretion. That way, somebody, at least at a policy level, can be supervising it, and the DPP can be held to be accountable, and that the public should know exactly what guides the exercise of that discretion. I think that might be useful.
Okay, and Billy, you did in the email that you sent to us, which came in sort of late on Friday, was that the DPP's decision is reviewable by the courts, but only in exceptional circumstances. Can you very briefly tell us what those exceptional circumstances may be?
Yes, O.C. The exceptional circumstances which were cited in the Chief Justice's case, as well as in the UK, is, for example, if it were found that a politician had told the DPP who to prosecute, and the DPP went ahead and did that, that is an exceptional circumstance in which the courts might quash the decision of the DPP. But how many times is that going to happen? It's just about won't happen at all. So in other words, really the right to judicial review in theory exists, but in practice it is very difficult to exercise. So it seems to me the best way is to have some kind of policy, general policy supervision over the DPP's exercise of the power.
Thank you very much for that, Billy. Thank you very much. You have a great day. We're going to our headline news. That means that we missed one of our callers, but caller, please hold on. As soon as we return from headline news, which is extremely short, we will take your call. Morning and welcome back to For the Record. We still have callers on hold. One caller has written and said, good morning, panel. We are becoming just like the U.S., where no day is kept holy, whether it's Saturday or Sunday anymore. And then their question has, the DEH started the Christmas clean up yet, and I believe what they meant by that is the bulk pickup as well, and we're going to be looking up those dates also. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. Good
morning, sir.
Good morning to your panel.
Good morning.
I got to be on for a long time, son, but don't cut me off. We import a lot of cheap labor. Then we find it difficult to understand the unemployment. We allow every single soul that jump off the plane to import a cheap domestic car and introduce it to our infrastructure that is not ready for that. Then we find it difficult to understand the traffic jam, right? And then we allow the population to expand. And then we find it difficult to understand the pileup of the garbage. You know, Mr. Macfield, you can tell him at one time we was a small exporter. Now we have become a large importer, a large consumer, and we finding that very difficult to understand again. So what are we going to do? Who, like Mr. Macfield, talk about these so-called representatives who are being paid for a part-time job?
That's right.
When are they going to step forward and make some moves to correct these mistakes that we are making, or find a solution to these things? the Chief Justice, Sir John Summerfield, I should call him, told us long, long time ago that when he was in Bermuda, he had to ride a moped, and he was the Chief Justice with his paperwork on the back in a plastic bag. I have a cousin who was working in Bermuda as an engineer, Steve McLaughlin, who always told me he had to ride a moped and he was the engineer for a hospital. So we have to say, hey, this is the way it's done in the Cayman Islands. You want to come down here, you come. You don't want to come, but this is the way it's going to be done. So I don't want nobody jumping off the plane and talking about no rights this and rights that. We have to say the way we want it to be done, and that is it.
Well said. You can hear that you have been debating somewhere down in Rockhole in the evenings that you've been doing some debating down in that area, sir.
Well, I really have to credit Mr. O.C. Corner and Dr. Maxfield for my intellectual dialogue.
And then he accosted me. He accosted me at Hurley's.
Yes.
Yes. So I said to him, "Don't beat up on me. Just call the show."
Well, caller, you still there?
You got to sell it in the supermarket, then I won't beat up on you.
Well, caller, you still there?
He's still there, yeah.
Well,
I told you I'm not hanging up.
The thing that happened this morning for me is to see that the pastors in the church, Pastor Al and Mr. Tommy Borden has come out now and spoken on the radio, and I just would like to let them know that Martin Luther King came out in the streets and had to walk and had to suffer and had to be in prison to get rights that they wanted in America. And so it's now the church has to come out now, and they have to flex their Christian power and help us to solve these problems that we have. And coming about the garbage. You know, if the caller is right, I don't know if the caller is right, but the caller said that he drove around to different communities, the upper class or the upper drawer communities, and the garbage was there. The streets were all clean. There was no garbage. Garbage collection was all made on time. Well, it goes to show you who they are. It answered the question that we have always been asking: who are we developing for? They're not developing for the people who Miss Georgette calls about homeless. They're not developing for the people who are in the communities where people are losing their houses and the garbage is piling up. They're not developing for those people. And so the church now has to come out now and has to do what they have to do, like what Martin Luther King and all his colleagues did in America when they refused to vote and people were pushed aside and treated like animals. It's time now that they come out and wake up now and not only worship God in their temples, but come out of and help the people outside too.
Okay. Dr. Maxfield, the only person that I see that is rebelling and standing up and coming out on the road and demonstrating is the little guys on their dirt bikes.
Yeah.
It's the only one who's making a stand right now.
Caller, I want to thank you very much for that. Otherwise, they will accuse me of partisanism, being partisan by allowing Rockhole crew a much longer time than others. We still have one caller, Miss Susan. One caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm okay, thank you. I'm very blessed. Good morning to Dr. Maxfield and Ms. Teresa as well.
Morning.
Good morning.
We're talking about the garbage and garbage collection and things like that should concern everyone in this island, because garbage means disease. It means everything. But we also should mind about some of the restaurants and their facilities, cooking facilities, their bathroom facilities. I don't know who pays attention to that sort of thing, but I am number one on that, because we try to eat very well at home, and I want the same thing when I got to go out and pay a lot of money. But it looks like we have dropped down in that as well. You go to some of these restaurants, It's a step up and a step down and a whatnot, and it's no warning signs, no yellow markers, no nothing to tell you it's a step down or a step up. Then you go to the bathrooms, you can see the dirt and stuff in a corner. Whoever is responsible, we're not begging you now. We're paying you. We're paying you every month a salary. We expect better. Whichever minister that is in charge of that, we expect better out of that minister. We are Caymanians known to be keeping our yards and our homes clean and decent. The homeless, I still invite you all to come down West Bay. They're all over this island, but I believe West Bay got the most. The lady is still staying on Mr. Graham porch. I was thinking about her last night when all of that rain, we had rain down here in West Bay nearly all night long. I say, what is happening to that poor woman? I also know that on our West Bay public beach, now they have hammocks. I wonder what happens to those people when we have bad weather. Yet we got highly paid politicians that's paying no mind. We don't even see them. But I'm not going to say any more because they hit me enough now. I've been getting some calls to shut up my mouth. Once I have to pay my taxes, and the Lord give me strength, I want to let every one of them know I'll be opening my mouth to say what I have to say that I think is right, and I know it's the truth. And many that would tell the truth know that I'm telling the truth. We do not see our politicians. Certain ones do, but certain ones do not. Mm-hmm. They don't even have meetings anymore.
Thank you very much, caller, for that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and I must tell you that when you hear them complain, when you hear them threaten, that means that you have hit a nerve. You have hit a nerve. Dr. McFeel, you know about hitting nerves. You were a former dental technician, so you know about hitting a nerve.
Yes,
we have one more caller. Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor. Good morning to your panel.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Captain Paul.
This is I know how to identify myself.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to make it as short as I can. About this, you remember when the new garbage can trucks came in? They were state of the art. It was all over the papers about the state of the art. We do not need the state of the art garbage can. You need something stripped down because it's going to cause trouble. Mr. Mikefield, Dr. Mikefield, I know you say it was national, but you remember those ships?
Yes.
We never had any trouble with them because they're the simplest thing in the world.
Exactly.
That's why they made so much money. They were so simple. That is what you have to do in an island. You don't need all this sophisticated equipment. You just the pure necessity, and you need people who's... and I'm going to say something now, and I'm not casting any...
aspersions
on anybody, but when these people who are doing this purchasing, I'm talking from experience. I know what I'm saying. They are somebody's getting a big kickback, and there are a deduction from something, and it's not going back to whoever's paying for it. I know from experience. And these sophisticated people who sell what you call them now, they're selling all these equipment. They know how to get through to them. They should get hold of somebody who knows what they're doing and import all these, because there's many pieces of equipment here in Cayman and some in Cayman Bright that was not suitable. Somebody got a good deal in it, and they bought it. Mm-hmm. Thank you for listening to me. I say again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I know
from experience
how these things happen.
Yeah.
You do not need this state-of-the-art cut. It's going to cause trouble. And we do not have the technician, because you got to bring in a technician to do all of this repairs, or it costs a lot of money. Strip it down, just the bare necessities, and you'll get it working.
Thank you very much, Captain Paul, for that. We're going to take a commercial break now. I think we have one or two more callers on hold. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly. Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller. Before we go to that caller, two emails that I want to read. One says, good morning. By spending $425,000 or $600,000, by spending $425,000 on 600 people for 3 weeks, are we giving them a fish? Could the same amount of money be spent to put these people through a short 2 or 3 weeks training and prepare them for permanent work, as we have many permits granted in similar cleanup type jobs? Let us invest in our own people more wisely and teach them to fish and become self-sustaining instead of having them look forward to us giving them a fish each day. And I agree with that, but there first has to be that commitment and that acknowledgement. Cayman for Caymanians, and Caymanians must come first. If you don't start on that premise,
then you can give all the fish you need.
Yes. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Yeah, just quickly, Orman here in West Bay. You know the big problem here when you're talking about the problem with the garbage? I, for one, I'm going to start calling names publicly. What they're talking about, the modern garbage trucks and so forth and so on, I agree with what Captain Paul said. Except, but you don't mean it to this one. No. You have to call those people. Let me tell you something, gentlemen. They had a gentleman in West Bay. He's still here. His name is Mr. Sims, that works into the Department of Environment. When he was in West Bay, as the older people would say, you could almost eat off of the street. All the guy needs to do that is in charge of the environment, whether it's Mr. Seymour or who, put Mr. Sims in that position. And I guarantee you, almost overnight, you're going to see a drastic change because he's a serious guy. Most of these guys that you see in these offices with their neckties, they have nothing. Their salary is cut and dry. They have no interest. In West Bay, you have a lot of these horseback riding companies. It drains from the horse pens into the street, the manure and everything else, and down the road. You look like Papagallo's. I mean, that's a restaurant. And sometimes you see the horse manure almost in front of the restaurant there. You could tell me whether it's Roy Del Carter or whoever is responsible, because I know he has a very responsible position. I've been complaining to this man about this from day one, and apparently it fell on deaf ears. So I am for one now. I have broad shoulders. You're not going to frighten me. I'm saying that something needs to be done. These people are making $100, $125 off of one horseback riding. There's no reason why they cannot have the bags behind these horses like any other place and get on with this thing. The stench is coming from all directions, flies and other unsanitary situations. So I am hoping that Mr. Seymour are listening to what I'm going to say, because I am not stopping here.
Okay.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to me. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you very much, caller, for that. We're going to close off the calls now. I have another email here. It says, this email is in response to the question which Dr. Macfield asked Miss Alice May on Friday. The Concerned Citizens Group have attempted to take the beach access matter to court. 3 members of the group have applied for legal aid in order to do so. We have been told that this matter is not a matter of public interest and we must fund the matter ourselves. We have appealed the matter to a judge in chambers. If this is not a public interest matter, then what is? Even more important, it has now become a national issue. In response to what Mr. Ezzard was saying on Friday, the Attorney General should not have to fumble on the matter. He is well aware of what is taking place with the matter. He has been addressed on the matter from time to time, and from the time the affidavits were submitted as well. So the person says that they hope that this helps to answer the question as well.
Oh, it does answer the question, but it doesn't pose a solution.
Yeah.
The question, the solution has still evaded us. What has to happen now is that we all have to get together and we have to garner some funds somewhere to actually fight for our public rights that we have. Since the government doesn't want to protect us, since the legislature doesn't want to protect us, since the landowners whose rights of easements that we have over their land that want to block us, we have to do it ourselves. And if push comes to shove, we will have to go there and clear those beach accesses ourselves and stand up. And if they put us in jail, then we have to go to jail. A lot of people have been in jail to stand up for their rights and have been detained. But we have to start doing that. We have to start making the sacrifice for our freedom. Because if we don't, well, we're not going to get the freedom that we have to pass on to our children or grandchildren. Sometimes you have to do that. And it seems to me that we believe in Cayman that the time will not come when we will have to do that. We are going to have to do that sometime.
That maybe we may make that our New Year's resolution. Yes. Okay, for our listener, our caller who wanted to know about the pickup for the solid waste for Christmas, I have found an Cayman Islands government on the website. I must tell you, this does not say the year, so I'm hoping that it's for 2017. When I Googled it, it was the first one the first choice that I had. Normally on that totem pole there in Google, the most recent will be on the top. And it says solid waste section of the Department of Environmental Health has announced that this year's annual cleanup exercise will take place 20th November to 21st December. Doesn't say what year. It says the cleanup is carried out on both Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac. The start of the month-long cleanup exercise coincides with the end of Pirates Week and concludes just before Christmas. The schedule for Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac is as follows: East End and North Side, 20th to the 25th of November. I must say that I rode through North Side yesterday, going towards Hatland area, and I did see some stuff still on the roadside. So whether or not the cleanup pickup has taken place there and people put it out afterwards, I'm not sure. So East End, North Side, 20th to 25th of November. Bordentown, 27th of November to the 2nd of December. Georgetown, 4th to the 12th of December. West Bay, 13th to 21st of December. Cayman Brac, 27th of November to the 2nd of December. I have looked through the whole article. I have had others look through the whole article to see whether or not there's a year mentioned here, but there is no mention of the year. I'm assuming that it is 2017. I hope I am correct, because those dates that I have given you are the dates that are posted here as well. Miss T, we haven't heard from you in a while. Let's hear.
Well, we're about to close, right?
New Year's resolution, not New Year's resolution about clearing all the beach accesses.
Oh, no. I'm going to hold my thoughts on my New Year's resolution, but I'm going to try and keep a promise that I made to a schoolmate. Our 40th anniversary, 40 40th class reunion anniversary takes place early next year. And people had me on a leash on last week saying that I have to make sure that I announce it this morning. So I beg you to bear with me.
Sure.
The person that is in charge in terms of, making sure that you contact her is none other than Brenda Archer. So let me say it. I'm going to say it 3 times. Brenda Archer, Brenda Archer, Brenda Archer. Brenda's number is 916-1811. 916-1811. Please contact Brenda. Now, if you can't get Brenda because you know she's a little busy, you can speak to Ingrid Solomon. Ingrid's number is 927-2694. Again, 927-2694. So we're going to try, I'd like to invite those of us who are unaware and who are listening to me this morning, are unaware of our plans to try and have a really boisterous class reunion next year. Please contact Brenda or Ingrid. Now, Brenda, I'm sure you're listening. See, now I've done my part. I hope you're happy and I hope you're smiling now.
Okay, and I want to remind our listeners and our viewers also that the Thanksgiving prayer meeting that I mentioned on Friday as well, that takes place today at the Georgetown Town Hall, and I believe it is for 12 o'clock at the Georgetown Town Hall. Thanksgiving on Monday, special Thanksgiving prayer service, and we're encouraging all to attend. If you have your lunch break, take it, and whereas you may do other things, go there and say a prayer and congregate with others and say a prayer. One caller, and I'm trying to paraphrase this, said, what do you do when there's a situation where someone rear-ended them? The driver of the vehicle signed a promissory note to repair the vehicle. Turns out later that the boyfriend of the driver goes to the police, tells the police he is the driver of the car instead of the person who signed the promissory note. And what should they do now? My layman's view, get yourself a lawyer.
Get yourself a lawyer and try to ascertain who's the owner of the car. And
the boyfriend is the owner. But he has now gone to the police and said that he was the driver of the car, despite the fact that this other person signed a promissory note because they were the one.
Well, you bring an action against both of them.
Yes.
Because the promissory note is good as money. That's what a promissory note, there's no defense to a promissory note. Mm-hmm. And so you sue both of them. That's what you do. And so you get two cherries, you get two birds with one stone. And so both of them would be individually and collectively responsible if he's taking responsibility for it.
See, and it seems as if the person who was driving the vehicle, the girlfriend, wasn't insured to drive it, and not only that, did not have a license.
Well, that makes it worse, and that needs to come before the court because somebody will go down for that.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that they should get some details about the insurance, whether or not the vehicle itself was insured, and contact the insurer as well.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem when you don't contact your insurer. When you have an accident. Mm-hmm. I had a rear ender. I was driving behind in bumper to bumper, some time, long time ago, and I had a sneezing attack, and my foot just came off the brake a little bit, and my car was doing between 0 to 5 miles an hour, and just went and scraped the bumper of another man's car. We got out and we exchanged information. And he said, "Okay, I'll go and fix it." I gave him my number and everything, and it was no more than $150 worth of paint damage to repaint the scratches on his bumper. Okay. And I didn't go to my insurance and reported it. And he went and he fixed up his whole car. He completely painted his car and everything. And then my insurance called me and told me that there was this accident, and he was completely dishonest. He was a completely dishonest person. Say that the bumper had fallen off and he had to get new bumper and all that sort of stuff and things for that. And I paid that price by not going to my insurance immediately and letting them know what happened.
Yeah, I actually have a copy of the message here now. Says, woman, no license or insurance rear-ended me, signs a promissory note, and her boyfriend tells the police he was driving, and the police believes him. So after I've gone and filed my report, he tells me weeks later it is a civil matter, end of story. 1 month after my vehicle was just imported.
He should go and he should make a complaint to the judge, and the judge certainly, if the judge feels that a matter other than the civil an offense has been occurred, he can send it to the DPP for investigation and prosecution.
Okay. Closing comments, Ms. T?
No, not this evening, not today. Amy saying this evening you got me in Zurich time. No, I'm still, a little jet lagged. Yeah.
Doc?
I am just flabbergasted that you could have people in the church now who are speaking outwardly about all these injustices in the country and the fact that our culture is being diluted and being erased periodically and quickly. And I sympathize with them, but they have to stand up too, and they have to say that it's wrong, and they have to put pressure. And I was at a function yesterday, and we were talking about donkeys, and a lot of people, how the country is changing. Donkeys, as we know it, in the old days was a beast of burden. Now they are referring donkeys to some politicians who some politicians who have no brain and who are very light and carry no responsibilities, like the donkeys who carry the burdens of the basket. The politicians now carry no responsibilities. So I was amazed at the things that people are coming up with now and saying, and it shows you where our country is going and where our culture is going, and that really upsets me, because I have a duty now for my children and my grandchildren and the children and grandchildren of other people to see that we leave a place behind that we found.
Okay. Two things. First of all, I want to thank all of those who called in this morning and participated. Some serious concerns were raised, and we hope that those who can make a difference, policymakers, policy implementers as well, are listening and take some of these issues in hand. I want to thank my two co-hosts this morning also as well. Two issues that we didn't get to talk about, and on Wednesday we'll probably get an opportunity. One, a meeting that is going to take place in tomorrow and has to do with the financial services industry and the categorization of the various jurisdictions. Some will be placed on a white list, some will be placed on a black list, some may be placed on a gray list. And it'll be interesting to see where the overseas territories are placed, within that. We see the UK taking a more robust position when it comes to the overseas territories and the financial centers. As a matter of fact, I saw one article that talked about that when the UK leaves the EU after Brexit, that they become more of course, we all say that it's the biggest one to begin with anyway, but that may happen. The other one has to do with an assassination. It must be called an assassination that took place in Malta, where a blogger, Caruana Galinza, I forget how to pronounce the last name, but Caruana is one of her names. A car bomb, her car was car bombed, the device set in it and exploded, killed her a few weeks ago, and her family didn't invite any from the government to attend the funeral, because they felt that the government was complicit one way or the other in that process. $1 million or £1 million something reward was issued. They have now made 10 arrests in that case. But I say this to say that a delegation from the European Union went to Malta, and the silence and the misdirection that they got from officials, including the police and stuff like that, caused them to make statements about Malta and about the secrecy and the political corruption and stuff. I say that to say, when we had our observer mission here in the Cayman Islands for the elections, it was headed by someone from Malta. In that report, they told us this and that about the Cayman Islands. Some good things, but some things that they say that we needed to change. We need to be very careful who we bring here from henceforth to tell us about our situation here when they have much worse situations in their own countries, as well. We have a tendency to
begins at
embrace,
home.
yes.
And especially when we have people here who are confident and who are comfortable to be able to say what our situation is ourselves.
Exactly. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. We always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or those who crave, but we definitely want to consider during this holiday season those who are more vulnerable in our society. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Ebanks at 12 noon for a talk today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.